previous class I have discussed still the community, okay, in this Mesopotamian civilization. Okay, I am continuing this chapter. Okay, now I am going to the town planning of this Mesopotamian civilization. The Mesopotamian civilization cities more or less followed uniform pattern. These cities were divided into three parts. Look, the Mesopotamian cities more or less followed uniform pattern. Which pattern? Uniform pattern. These cities were divided into three parts. The sacred area, which had a temple, tower or ziggurat dedicated to the patron god of the city. The walled city, otherwise the outer town. Okay, so the cities were divided in three parts. What was the three parts? The three parts are the sacred area, which had a temple, tower or ziggurat dedicated to the patron god of the city, the walled city, the outer town. The people lived in the walled city and the outer town. These streets were unpaved and without drains. These streets were unpaved and without drains. The houses were built of mud bricks. The rooms in each houses were grouped around a central courtyard. Okay, it was the town planning of the Mesopotamian cities. See here, the picture is shown. An artist version of a ziggurat. We have say here the ziggurat, temple of ziggurat. The artist version of a ziggurat. It has found. Okay, excavation of a Mesopotamian city. Excavation from that time. On that time. Okay, next I will go to occupation. What was the occupation of this Mesopotamian civilization? First one is agriculture. Agriculture was the main occupation of the people of the Mesopotamian civilization. Agriculture was the main occupation of the people of the Mesopotamian civilization. It is the main occupation. Agriculture means cultivation. The Mesopotamian people developed an excellent system of irrigation. The Euphrates and the Tigris, you have know the two rivers of the bank of the two rivers of Mesopotamian civilization are the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers. Okay, the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers were the main source of water supply. They supplied the water to help for irrigation, okay, and cultivation, agriculture, anything. Dikes were built to control the flood water from these rivers. To increase agriculture, the Mesopotamians invented the ox-drawn plough. They also invented wheeled cart for transportation of goods. Goods mean the things. Transportation means going another place. Transportation of goods means the things. The Mesopotamians are believed to be the first to cultivate wheat. They They also grew barley, fruits and pulses. One verse. Second verse is domestication of animals. People domesticated animals like cows, goats, sheep and donkeys. Which animals then the people domesticated? People domesticated then like the animals like cows, goats, sheep and donkeys. Art and craft. With a stable food supply through agriculture, people were able to engage themselves in other activities too. They acquired specialized skills in pottery, weaving and metalwork, bleaching, dyeing, preparation of paints. Then also preparation of paints happened. Okay, cosmetics and perfumes were also carried out. See here. Here the picture is seen. These are Mesopotamian cylindrical seal. Okay. The picture is sample of Sumerian pottery. Mesopotamian made cylinder seals which required considerable skill. All seals were which engraved their image. all these things tell about Mesopotamian expertise in art and craft. The cylinder seals and the and these things also the included in this art and craft. Trade and commerce. Trade means business, which I call business. Business is called trade and commerce. Trade and commerce flourished the Mesopotamian, making it a prosperous civilization. They traded with the Mediterranean countries and Egypt. They probably had trade relations with the contemporary Harappan civilization. As Mesopotamian shells have been discovered at some Indus Valley sites. The chief exports were food grains and finished products. The chief imports were stone, timber and metal ores. They kept records of their business account on clay tablets. 8. Number 8 is art and craft. The art and craftsmanship of this civilization is a thing to behold. They worked in gold and lapis as well as clay and wood. They made jewelry and small statues from gold. They also made jewelry and some statues from gold and lapis. Intricate chairs from wood. Intricate chairs then was wooden chairs, and reeds were their highlights. They had musical instruments. And were incredible at pottery. Archaeologists have found partial remains of some of their mosaics, which appears to be potteries of animals and people, as well as geometric patterns. The things that they did best was pottery. The thing that they did best was pottery. The pottery was so good that they used it as a money system, trading pottery for food and other items. It is the art of craft of this civilization. We have discussed about the art of craft of this civilization. Next, I will go to architecture and technology. What was the architecture of this civilization? What was the technology of this civilization? Then, in this topic, we have to discuss it. The Mesopotamians introduced the use of arcs, columns, domes, etc. in their buildings. The ziggurats and the hanging gardens represent the best example of Mesopotamian architecture. What is the thing? The ziggurats and the hanging gardens represents the best example of Mesopotamian architecture. Ziggurats were made from sun-baked bricks. They were many storied and decorated with tiles, precious stones and marbles. Ziggurats were made from sun-baked bricks. Ziggurats were made from it will be a question. Okay. Ziggurats were made from sun-baked bricks. From which bricks? Sun-baked bricks. They were made. Which ziggurats were made from? Ziggurats were made from sun-baked bricks. They were many storied and decorated with tiles, precious stones and marbles. The hanging gardens of Babylon. The hanging gardens of Babylon in the palace of King Nebuchadnezzar II, 604 to 562 BC, is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar II is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The decades was 604 to 562 BC. BC means before Christ. It was built on the top of stone arcs 23 meters above the ground. It was watered by river Euphrates using a complicated mechanical system. It has a mountain-like series of terraces filled with plants. An elaborate tunnel and pulley system fetched water from the ground level to the top terrace. This achievement indicates the high technological and architectural advancement of the Mesopotamians in ancient times. Next, the architects also built big cities, canals and dams. The discovery of metal objects such as statues, gold and silver ornaments. Ornaments means jewelry ornaments. And pottery is the proof of technical advancements. Number 10. Religious beliefs. The Mesopotamians religious means beliefs. What was the religion of the people of Mesopotamian civilization? Then we discuss this. The Mesopotamians believed in many gods and goddesses. They also worshipped forces and of nature like the sun, moon, and rain. The three Mesopotamian gods were Onu. The god of sky is what is called refers as Onu. Enlil, the god of wind. Enki, what is Enki? Enki is the god of earth. And Ninursaga is mother goddess. Each city was believed to be owned by a specific god or goddess. A temple devoted the deity was located in the center of the city. The king was the chief priest. He was believed to be the direct representative of God on earth. Later on, the priests were appointed by the king to look after the ziggurat. I have discussed about this ziggurat. What is ziggurat? Discovery of weapons. Weapons mean guns, armaments, vessels, etc. In the graves proves that the Mesopotamians believed in life after death. Next, I will discuss the contributions of the Mesopotamian civilization. What was the contributions of the Mesopotamian civilization? On script, the greatest achievement of the Mesopotamian was the invention of the art of writing. They were the first to invent a pictographic form of writing known as the cuneiform. Cuneiform is wedge stepped. This is the cuneiform. This script contained picture-like symbols they wrote from right to left. This script contained picture-like symbols they wrote right to left. These symbols were written on wet clay tablets with a stylus. These symbols were written on wet clay tablets with a stylus. A sharp pen made out of reed, bone, or metal. The tablet was then baked in the sun on fire. The pictograms on the tablets represented an object or an idea. The people who wrote on this day tablets were called scribes. The clay tablets were mostly used for keeping records of business documents, daily transaction, royal inscription, etc. The science I will discuss the science of the Mesopotamian civilization, the technological science of this Mesopotamian civilization. The Mesopotamians were technically very advanced. Building of canals, dikes, and reservoirs required considerable technical skills, which they handed down to the later generation. The Mesopotamians were brilliant mathematicians. They counted the tens and 60s. They also used the figure 60 as the unit for measuring time. They were the first to divide a day into 24 hours, each hour into 60 minutes, and each minute into 60 seconds. We know that. Okay, a day is 24 hours. We always say a day is 24 hours. Okay, and one minute is called 60 seconds, and 1 hour is called 60 minutes. We know it. Days and nights were divided into two equal halves, consisting of 12 hours each. The form of calculation has survived till today. The Sumerians also developed the first calendar. The Mesopotamians also called as Sumerian civilization. Okay, a year was divided into 12 months. They adjusted this calendar according to phases of the moon. They adjusted. See there. Look at this thing. They adjusted this calendar according to the phases of the moon. Now next I will call metallurgy. What metallurgy? The Mesopotamians discovered copper. They made bronze by adding tin to copper. With this began a new age known as Bronze Age. It is the metallurgy. Court of Hammurabi. Hammurabi was one of the greatest king of Babylon. He compiled a code of law dealing with every aspect of human life. This code of law. He compiled a code of law dealing with every aspect of human life. This code of law written on a stone slab. This code of law written on a stone slab was one of the oldest codes written. These laws protected the people, particularly the poor, the weak, children, slaves, and the women. Severe punishments were awarded to the lawbreakers. However, there were separate sets of punishment according to the social position of the person. Next, finally, I will discuss about the decline. How was the Mesopotamian civilization declined? How did Mesopotamian civilization declined? Decline of the Mesopotamian civilization. The land of Mesopotamia saw the rise and fall of the first great civilization of the world. It declined due to the following reasons. See the reasons. Why was the Mesopotamian civilization declined? The river Euphrates unexpectedly changed its course, which forced the inhabitants to move to other places. Frequent war and attacks marked an end to the ancient civilization. Winds and sandstorms eroded the walls and the monuments, burying the treasure of this great civilization under a sandy desert plain. Nevertheless, Mesopotamia remains the cradle of civilization, leaving a legacy of mathematical and technical genius. Much of our modern civilization can be traced back to the inventive genius of the Mesopotamians. Okay, so I have discussed the decline of the Mesopotamian civilization. We have to points to ponder which main things we have to points to ponder. World first civilization flourished in Mesopotamia. World's first civilization flourished in Mesopotamia, popularly known as Sumerian civilizations. Watch here. Mesopotamian civilization we have also known as Sumerian civilization. It was located between the two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, in modern Iraq. It was located between the two rivers. Which are the two rivers? The Tigris and the Euphrates, in modern Iraq. Mesopotamian society was patriarchal. Patriarchal means the male member was the head of the Mesopotamian society. Okay, father was the head of this family. Sumerians were engaged in agriculture and domestication of animals. They also acquired specialized skills in pottery, weaving, and metalwork. Art and agriculture, craft and technology were highly specialized. Ziggurats and hanging gardens represent the best examples of Mesopotamian architecture. The Mesopotamians believed in many gods and goddesses and life after death. They were first to invent a pictographic form of writing known as cuneiform. The Mesopotamians were technically very advanced. They discovered copper and made bronze by adding tin to copper. The Mesopotamians were brilliant mathematicians. They were brilliant mathematicians. Okay, they know maths. They counted it tens and sixties. Hammurabi is famous for the code of law. Next class I will discuss about the questions, the exercise.